So where we can see increased aggression and violence among children. There is an increase in physical fights, bullying, verbal abuse. So some of the common factors are family level issues. So family dynamics, like what is happening inside the family, the domestic violence, parental conflicts, neglect, all these things are there. There is an increased exposure to these kind of drugs or other kind of products, which gives them immediate gratification also. So this is pulling them more towards it. And when it is support, like when there is in addition to that, if you have the peer pressure also, that is also adding to the negative aspect of this. Moreover, the social media, we cannot keep aside the role of social media, especially in the case of adolescents. How we can inculcate a habit of positive income generation. So supposing an idle mind is also another issue. So how can people are not nowadays, they're not using ideas like what new skill I can learn, like whatever skill that aligns to my interest, how can I learn that, or how can I do a new kind of creative thing, like which is optimally challenging, and I can create something new. Let me first reflect on, it's like a good news, bad news. So let me start off with the negative side and then wind up with a positive note. So behavioral issues and addictions of late, that has been the highlight of all the news channels and everything. We are hearing new kind of issues. So we can classify issues in broadly into two heads. Something which is related to your developmental level issues. Dr. Anas would be able to tell us better about that. So something related to the development. And the second part is related to their in the course of development, where both the genetical aspects as well as the environmental aspects come together and create some issues. So some of the common behavioral issues. So I'm keeping aside the neurodevelopmental issues. I'm talking about the behavioral component. So where we can see increased aggression and violence among children. There is an increase in physical fights, bullying, verbal abuse. So today, while I was talking to a group of lawyers, I was just telling them, of late, people, all this violence has become so normalized. Like people doesn't have any kind of they don't hold back to seeing violence or getting exposure to violence. Even if you go to a movie, you still see, even though there is 18 plus thing, but there are still some parents who take their small children along, or maybe they are forced to take their children along. So right from the young age, they are getting to see all these kind of violent things. And some of the important factors contributing to mostly when you look at the studies, you get to some of the common factors are family level issues. So family dynamics, like what is happening inside the family, the domestic violence, parental conflicts, neglect, all these things are there. Apart from that, we have the societal and environmental factors, which is like the economic concerns, then the attitude of the schools or the way the schools treat children. Those things are there. Then peer pressure, the most very striking aspect. Then bullying among children. All these things are also increasing. And then there is the educational pressure. So pressure, like there is a lot of comparison from the side of parents, teachers, everybody around them. It is mostly to do with like mark based or something like that. This is creating unnecessary pressure on the children. Then competitive exams, all these things are putting pressure. So what they look for is how will they get relief from these things. So they the most commonly now what they see around them, or there is an increased exposure to these kind of drugs or other kind of products, which gives them immediate gratification also. So this is pulling them more towards it. And when it is support, when there is in addition to that, if you have the peer pressure also, that is also adding to the negative aspect of this. Moreover, the social media, we cannot keep aside the role of social media, especially in the case of adolescents. Right from the morning, a student or an adolescent's day starts, not only adolescents, for that matter, everybody's day starts with a mobile phone. So there is a lot of comparison happening, and everybody thinks that other person's life is greener. So this kind of things, and how can I be on the other side? This is leading them to some people feel that they have a better lifestyle and everything. So how can I do it? So they don't bother about how they can do it positively. Instead, they stick on to other means which give them faster results. So that could be one reason why many students these days they are engaged in these kind of drug activities. Another thing is, when you look at earlier days, people used more productive things. So supposing in vacation and all, people use an important point to focus is how we can inculcate a habit of positive income generation. So supposing an idle mind is also another issue. So how can people are not nowadays, they're not using ideas like what new skill I can learn, like whatever skill that aligns to my interest, how can I learn that, or how can I do a new kind of creative thing, like which is optimally what you call challenging, and I can create something new. So there is the creativity part is also missing these days. That is another thing, because there is nothing optimally challenging and they are all hooked onto their phones. So there is no space for creativity, and then there is no space for engagement, positive engagement. So positive, while engaging positively only, you can think of what some new things will come. Now that they are hooked to something which is giving them all kind of satisfaction, there is no scope for improvement there. So how can we actually do? So how can we as parents, we need to set role models, not just saying that keep away your phone, keep away your phone. How can we as a family build a culture of at least a no phone time for this much time on a regular basis? And how can we have more meaningful engagement? So I have two children who are very young. So what we do is, after the vacation has started, I involve them in my day-to-day routine activities, including whatever things I do for them. So I involve their participation so that they can experience what a day of a mother looks like. So these kind of activities, and how parents should make the children think how they can use that productively. Supposing earlier days we used to take tuitions, extra tuitions, because from Gulf countries people used to come and they want to learn Malayalam or other languages. So we are ready to help and we make some pocket money. But these days people are not using any positive kind of things to make a what you call there's that income generation or saving for oneself. These habits are not being inculcated in them. They just don't know the value. They sometimes, I feel, they are not knowing the value of money also, because it is somebody is giving them money, so they don't know how to make that money, or how they can use their resources and creativity as well as time positively. Another thing I want to highlight is the emotional aspect. So I was also asked to talk about emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is a knowing your own emotions as well as others' emotions, as well as regulating and managing emotions. So that ability to do these things is called as the emotional regulation. And there are some components for that, like self-awareness. How much I know about myself, what are my emotions right now, how do I respond to a particular situation. Likewise, understanding about others' emotions also. Then being empathetic. So how can, if I'm doing something to somebody, then how do they feel, or what would they feel, or how will I feel if I were in their position? So these kinds of things are not maybe actually what studies say is, during childhood, the emotional part, or the limbic the regions in the brain associated with emotions, they are slowly developing, so they are more impulsive. In adolescence, what happens is the emotional part is also developing. In the same time, the prefrontal areas, which is supposed to be the rational part, that is also developing. But however, the emotional part is developing even faster. That is why children engaging in more risk-taking behaviors or impulsive behaviors. And once you start or reaching adulthood, the prefrontal cortex take over. That is where you start thinking about morality and how this will affect other person, all those kind of things. And adding to this, what happens is, when you are abusing drugs, or when children are engaging in drugs and other addictives, what happens is their reward system is getting overstimulated. This in turn, what will happen, there are other areas which actually have and even the prefrontal cortex functions and all are getting affected in a very negative sense, so that they become more impulsive, more risk taking, and sometimes even threatening also. So these are the things. So what I would suggest for a vacation is, one thing is, let us be role models to them. Second thing is, let us make some plans with them. Even I have put my kids in all these vacation classes, but I ask them, what do they actually want to do? and they were saying in the vacation I want to do this, so we selected a few. If not, we also should, like, if the children are in adolescence or something, we should tell them about the ideas of, like, how a family works, and how they are like, in everything about the family, how the family is running, how to do the grocery management, how to do the financial management, what all things do we need to do. So they also should get an idea of how things are working, and they should also start saving whatever, in whatever capacity they can. So these kind of skills, parents should also start talking about this in a very right sense, how they can engage in these kind of things. One more thing I want to add is the emotional first aid thing. That is a concept by Guy Winch. So Guy Winch says that whenever there is a hurt, like, we have an injury at a physical level, we focus a lot on that and we do the adequate care, whatever is required. But when there is an emotional hurt, that mostly what we do is, at least, like, we just don't give as much importance as a physical injury, because we know physical injury can go worse and it can, like, create greater risk for us. Even, like, sepsis, some kind of thing can happen. But mental injuries also, even it can be small disappointments, failures, as the sir who spoke first, Bhasi sir, also pointed out. So these kind of failures, that needs to be addressed even at a minute level, at least, so that that is addressed, and that won't leave some wounds on you. If these wounds are being left and the children feel overstressed, overburdened, or neglected, this will lead them to engage in more negative kind of behaviors than positive behaviors. So family should inculcate, or family should bring about a culture where, I'm not saying that every time they are together, but there should be a family time concept where everybody can come around, discuss everyday's events, and like, there should be a comfortable environment where children feel free to share with their parents, not that, like, they feel that they are being judged. So if I say something like, I had a fight with my classmate today, many parents would say, so sir, I want to say is, we have to address the emotional aspect also, as well as bring a culture, like, family, since family is the basic unit, how we can bring about changes right from the family. These are some areas which I want to, and I also pointed out the reason why people, or why children engage in risk taking behaviors. Thank you.